Hello, you're watching Everrod Junction, and this morning I'm going to be working on the canal scene again. So I think this is canal scene part 5. The realistic water has been left for about a week just to settle and dry, and it's pretty much dry now. It's basically done. I might in future add a final very thin layer to the top, but I'm not sure yet. I'm just going to leave it for now. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this temporary piece and actually have a look at the whole scene and see how well the edges come out. I'd say doing all the realistic water has taken about a month or so if you include all the drying time. The actual labour involved has been very little. I've maybe spent an hour on it pouring layers. I've used quite a few layers. I think in total so far I have done 6 layers, and I may add layer number 7, although it'll be very, very thin, and it'll just be to further eliminate the lip that's at the edge of the canal. I've had to leave about 3 or 4 days in between each layer just to let them set before I can pour the next one. That's quite a long time, but I am using very large quantities of realistic water. I've used 2 bottles so far. I'll show you a bottle in a minute to give you an idea of how much is in one. It is quite deep. I wanted to create the effect of depth, but I did also at the same time actually want some real depth. So it's about as deep as I think it's going to get at the moment. So it's probably about, I don't know, if you scaled it up, it's probably about 3 or 4 feet deep, which is an average depth for a canal. Canals really aren't that deep. So I've used 2 of these to create all of that. I've got some left in this one. As you can see, there's a little bit left in there, which I'll use potentially for that final finishing layer. This one's completely empty. I did lose a little bit as well when I poured the first layer. It took about 24 hours for it to start doing it, but I did get a leak out of that corner just there. Luckily I'd evacuated the fiddle yard in anticipation of that happening, so there was no damage caused, but I did lose some realistic water when that leak occurred. Had that not happened, it may be slightly deeper than it is now. But on the whole, I'm very pleased with it. So let's get on with removing this piece and seeing how the thing looks. Okay, see how things look. I just used 2 wood screws to hold this in. However, due to the leak that happened down in this corner, it may be somewhat reluctant to come off. But we shall see. Okay. Try and leave the tinfoil where it is for the moment. Just get rid of the piece of wood. Ooh, it's coming away. Ooh. That's looking good actually. Very promising, look at that. Nice edge. It's not going to be completely flat. I kind of knew that. They're going to be absolutely perfect, but that looks pretty good actually. And you get an idea for just how deep it actually is. So, you're all shouting at me to pull the tin foil off, so here we go. Okay, there's some insulation tape along the bottom where I sealed it in case anything went wrong. As you can see, it's nice and shiny, so it's done its job. I'll tidy that bit off in the corner. Okay, so there you go. Needs a little bit of a clean. You can see there's a few marks where some paint have got in, but it's looking good. I'm pretty pleased with how that's come out. It's nice to be able to actually look down the canal from eye level. It looks good. I'll clean off these. These are just a few paint marks. Obviously, when I was stippling the effects onto various layers, I've touched the tin foil in places, and it's just left a mark there. So. I'll get that off with some cleaner. You can see foliage, and there's a couple of rocks in there. You can just about see through maybe the first inch of it. which is what I was sort of going for. It looks good. What I'm going to do now actually is apply the final layer of realistic water, and now I've had a moment to look at it. Here there is a relatively significant lip where it joined up to the tin foil. I saw it happening as I was doing the job. So if I pour any in now, it'll actually be contained by the lip that's along here, because I'm not going to be using very much. You can see the reflection of the bridge in the canal itself. It works from all angles. You can see the tree actually there as well. That's cool. Very pleased with how it's come out. It's taken a long time, but it's definitely worth it. Much better than the motorway that I used to have here. Okay, I'm going to pour in the last bit of realistic water I've got. And then we should be done. I've not got very much, so I'm going to be careful. I've still got a little bit left in the bottle, so I'm just going to let that settle and then come back, and any bits where it hasn't flown to I can deal with. Okay, so I've used the last of the realistic water, and then looking at the lip here you can see how thick it is. It will shrink slightly, but that's pretty good. And then what I'll do, if there's still a lip here that's noticeable, you can see there's a couple of little flaky bits on the top, is I'll get a very sharp brand new scalpel blade. I'll just run along the edge of that just to neaten it up. As this is the final layer, I've just put a piece of cardboard over it to prevent any dust or debris falling and getting stuck in the canal while this final layer dries. There's still air under there for it to dry off, so I'll leave that for quite a while. I probably won't take that off for a few days until I'm happy that it's dry. I can check it's dry by just looking at the colour here at the edge. Once it goes clear and blends with the rest of it, I know it's ready. But I'm working on other stuff on the layout right now, so I don't want any dirt or dust or anything from any activities I'm doing up here to spoil the final layer. Okay, so next thing I'm going to do is add in some people. I've got a selection of people here. I've got some children, some people jogging, people standing still. So I'll put those in various spots to add some detail. I'm not going to put too many people in, but there will be a few people here and there. So I'll go ahead and do that now. I won't show you me putting them in because every time you glue them down they just fall over, so I'm going to have to put them next to pots of paint and stuff to get them all balanced and in position so they actually stay standing. Okay, I've added in a couple of people. I'll probably add some more in later on, but this will do for now. We've got a guy on his morning jog, an old lady on her way back from the shops, and we've got a guy with his two kids by the side of the canal looking in at the shopping trolley and the bike on the other side. And then over here we've got a guy who's brought his kid up to watch the trains going past. Next thing I'm going to do is add some graffiti. This is a brick structure and it's near a railway, so it almost has to have graffiti on it. You go anywhere in the 80s, 90s, and now you see graffiti all over the place, especially on brick structures, retaining walls, tunnels, things like that. So I've got some transfers which I'll possibly use. I'm going to have a look and see if there's any that are suitable, and I'm also going to do some freehand stuff as well with some paints. Okay, I've added in some graffiti. I would have liked to film it, but to be honest I had to get so up close with my hands and the brushes up to the brick wall. You wouldn't have been able to see anything, it would have just been my arm. So all of these have been painted with enamel paints and a very small brush. And I've not gone too crazy, I've just done a few bits here and there. I put the transfer on the inside. The problem with those transfers is they are very big. I didn't want to dominate the whole thing with graffiti. I just wanted to make it look like groups of people have come and put tags in the places they can get to easily. Didn't want to just plaster the whole thing with graffiti, so I think it looks pretty good. I've got a few things left to do. A little bit more scenery just needs to go on this side, cover up some of the bald patches. I want to add a few more bits of long grass in places as well. I'd like to add a canal boat, but I haven't got hold of one yet, so that'll be something I also do, and perhaps some fishermen sitting somewhere along here. But apart from those small bits of detail, the scene is pretty much complete. So I will leave you with some close-ups and some shots of trains passing across the bridge.